Here we're going to talk about some time management tips to prepare for the essay portion of the bar exam effectively. The first time management tip we have is to focus on the highly tested areas of law. You've heard us say this before, and we'll be saying it again repeatedly because it's so important that you allocate your time where you're most likely to get the most points. Again, you don't want to ignore anything, but you also want to study efficiently and effectively. So that's one way to ensure that you're doing that. To get through more practice essays in a shorter period of time, it's helpful to bullet point essays. So what I recommend you do is look at the question, then briefly bullet point your answer. So you don't have to write out a full answer, but still try to bullet point the elements of the rule, a few facts that you would point out in your analysis, and then the conclusion that you would arrive at. That way you're saving a bunch of time. It shouldn't take you 20 minutes to write an essay answer. It should probably take you 10. And you're still getting through the material in an active way. What I don't recommend you do is don't just read the question and then read the model answer, or the examiner's analysis, I should say. If you do that, then you're cutting too much out of the process. That's not a very active way of reviewing, and you'll forget a lot. A lot of times when I work with repeat takers, people who had failed once in the past and then they came to us, they'll say that this is how they studied for the essay portion. They'll say, oh, I read the questions and I read the answers and I went back 20 years and I did this. Well, it wasn't effective for them because they weren't really learning if they didn't have any active role in it. So by bullet pointing, you're still saving time, but you're not cutting too much out of the process. Of course, you do want to do timed exams too, because you want to make sure that you can complete the exam in time. To get through more essays, another thing that you can do is to try to answer questions in less than 20 minutes. So try to answer them in 18 minutes or even 15 minutes. We don't have all of our students do this, but some students that struggle with timing and tend to make mistakes like incorporating way too much background information or extraneous information that they don't need. This technique is good for them because it'll help them pare down really what they absolutely need to write. They'll get the bare bones down, and then 20 minutes seems like a long time to them when they go back to doing essay questions in 20 minutes. Next, be smart about which essays you complete. Like if you're completing torts essays, torts tests a variety of issues. It tests negligence, assault and battery, defamation, sometimes governmental immunity. There's a variety of issue at torts tests. So you don't want to do 5 essays on negligence, premises liability, duty owed to an invitee. Okay, if you did 5 essay questions that covered that topic, then you're not going to be exposed to enough of the ways that torts is tested. So it's better to do 5 essays that cover different topics so that you're exposed to each of the ways that this subject is tested. It also helps if you start with the most recent exams. So some people ask, like, how far back should I go? Should I start with like the year 2000 or should I start with 2020 and move backwards? It's always a good idea to start with the most recent exam and move backwards. The reason for this is because, first of all, the older questions were written by different people. Pre-1997, the Michigan Bar Exam was written by law professors. So those questions have a very different tone. Post-1997, it was written by the board. But the questions still have a different tone because the board today, those 5 members on the Board of Law Examiners, is different from the board 15 years ago. So if you want to get exposed to the issues that are likely to come up, and you want to get exposed to questions that are written by the same board members, that are gonna write your exam, then it makes the most sense to do the most recent questions and work your way backwards. Another reason you don't want to go too far back, or you should be cautious about some of the older answers, is because the law might have changed, particularly in areas like criminal law. The law is no longer the same as it was in the year 2000. So if you're looking at old answers, those answers are not updated. They reflect the law as it was at that time, not the current law. So just keep that in mind. Next, get your study plan together ahead of time. The biggest mistake that we see Michigan Bar Exam takers make is they don't do enough essays. So if you have your plan together ahead of time and you say, I'm going to do 5 essays this week or 10 essays this week or 2 essays a day or whatever, then you're more likely to actually follow through with it. So just put it right into your schedule, what you're going to do each day, and that way you'll be most likely to actually complete your plan. So hopefully these time management tips help you study effectively for the essay portion of the Michigan Bar Exam.